And you've got this conference coming up on the 7th. What are the sorts of things that kind of someone would, you hope, your goal is for people to be able to walk away from that experience having learned? Kind of what are the opportunities there?
Well, I guess I'll talk about my two tracks again, my ESOP track and my co-op track. Well, first off, a newcomer who doesn't know whether they're interested in ESOPs or co-ops or both or whatever would go to the introductory session, the Introduction to Employee Ownership session, and they would come out with a basic understanding of those two forms and a couple of good stories. So then they would choose to go either to the Introduction to ESOPs, which is going to be this year, interesting, a skit, a role play with a bunch of people in the position of being the banker, and somebody's the seller, the selling shareholder, and somebody's the Department of Labor, and somebody, et cetera. So we can kind of act out all the different roles that go into forming an ESOP. And that will, I think, make the whole thing really vivid for people. And there will be people who can answer questions along the way. The worker co-op track, we don't actually have a full-fledged introduction to worker co-ops. We'll do that quickly in the Intro to Employee Ownership session. But then in the next round, there will be a great story from Equal Exchange. Rodney North, who's their big outreach guy, is coming up, and he's going to do a presentation on the history and the present operations of Equal Exchange. So that'll be really good. He's a really dynamic guy, and they have a great story. And then in the third round, somebody interested in cooperatives might go to the Converting a Business into a Cooperative session. I think I have to come up with a catchier name than that. Which Melissa Hoover from the U.S. Federation and Adam Trott from the Valley Alliance will be sharing their ideas on how to do that. And we'll have, of course, another story or two. Probably Red House will be part of that session. And then in the end, we have an intriguing sounding session called What ESOPs and Co-ops Can Learn from Each Other, where Melissa Hoover and our keynoter, Lauren Rogers, from the National Center for Employee Ownership, he's the new executive director there, will sort of start a conversation on that subject, which we hope will become a big conversation. There's also a showing of a movie called We the Owners, which is sort of the employee's perspective on employee ownership. That'll also be happening in the last round of the day for people who are too exhausted to deal with more talking heads.
Is that, when you say it's sort of this film that deals with employee ownership, does it also kind of cover both styles? And
yeah, it actually covers sort of three companies. One is Namaste Solar, which is a worker co-op. A second is an ESOP company called New Belgium Brewery. It's a beer brewery, which has just become 100% ESOP owned. And the third is one where it's neither ESOP nor co-op. They have a bunch of stock that they give people an opportunity to buy. And there's also kind of incentives for managers. It's a little more traditional in a lot of ways, but it's a very empowered workforce and a lot of pride. And it's a big construction company with the union, so it's kind of an interesting story. So those three companies are profiled in this movie, which is about an hour long, and we'll have a good discussion on that one too. So. And
the conversation that's happening between the keynoter and the worker co-op person, is that a conversation that's kind of happening nationally, or is it something that sort of the two models talking to each other is a new thing?
I have to say I pride our organization on encouraging that dialogue. They are such different models, we've already talked about that. And some people, co-op purists think, oh my God, ESOPs, that the employee, it's just not true. It's not really employee ownership because it's trust ownership, right? And that's true. So the dialogue does not happen very much. And it has happened a few times at our conference because we always have a track for co-ops, and we always have a lot of people from ESOPs and a real track for ESOPs. So the dialogue does not happen very much, and maybe we should say it's a really important moment that this will be happening at our conference.
Cool. So for folks again, that's June 7th at Champlain College. And I think people can go to your website is VEOC.org.
That's it. Yep. And there's conference information on there, and I'm always happy to get emails and things too.